One of the first things to notice is the length. I think when we had a B section in a rounded binary previously with Haydn, we had a B section that was something like 9 bars long. This B section is 23 bars long. There's a lot more happening in this section. The other thing is now we see the return of this particular motive with this sort of 3, and then we have that kind of little neighbor figure with that descending line. And that motive is now going to be sent on a little journey. And we want to look at a few things here. Again, we were talking before about the kind of clarity of key. Even in a transition, you do get the sense that you're moving in between two keys. I'm going to kind of block out these harmonies as I sort of play through. I'm going to start, this is my pickup here, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I'm going to start in bar 17 and just kind of comp out these chords. And you can see I've kind of already done a little Roman numeral analysis on them. But with these, I have two things going on. First of all, I have kind of ambiguous, if I take the notes in this bar here and kind of sort of comp them together, I get a 7 fully diminished 4-3 of C minor. I don't really have a way of talking. Right now, I don't know where I am. I landed in G major with a modulating period, but now I'm in C minor. So I can't quite even give this a Roman numeral yet until I know exactly where I am and where I'm going to land. The other thing, while we're talking about this, is look at the sort of symmetry of the way Beethoven uses his motives. If I scan up to this bar, the piece starts with G, and there I am in C major. If I look at the second phrase, I move down a fourth to D. And again, there I'm initially kind of in G minor, but I've just sort of moved down a fourth. Look at where I start B. Now I'm on G again. So it's just he keeps moving. He's moving very symmetrically there between those notes. And he has... So if you look at this, I have a sequence basically. The start of B, I really have this sequence. I have this 7-4-3 of C landing there on bar 18. Then I have, if I kind of mush these notes together, you see I've written 7 fully diminished 4-3 of B flat minor. And that resolves there. I really don't know where I am. B flat minor has nothing to do with C major or G major. So I'm pretty far out there, and I haven't had a cadence yet. I've just had these fully diminished chords sort of resolving. Then I have, again, this sort of fully diminished, I can kind of mush this together, get a fully diminished 7 of B flat minor right there. And then I have this chord at the very end of this page, very end of the system. I have this, what I call a 7 half diminished 7 of A flat. And if I scroll down here, that's going to resolve to A flat. That's going to be followed by this chord. And you'll notice I've kind of given this a key label because from this point on, well, I guess in retrospect, I can kind of hear where I am. Here's this fully diminished 7 of 5, but it moves to that, it's of G, but it moves to this, what is clearly a 5, kind of in retrospect. And then I get that, I have that, and I finally land, when I get down here, and I finally return to C major. So this is this right here is where I'm landing on this pedal, and I can kind of hear this in retrospect as setting up the 5. So jumping back just to recap, when I look at the first few bars of this B section, I do have movement. I guess it is directional, but in terms of key, it really is, it's really unmoored. It's really unmoored from the sense of where I was at the beginning of the piece in C major, moving to G major, and then I have via these fully diminished 7th chords, I have C minor, B flat minor, it sounds really wonky, and then I have A flat major. And where does that take me after that? It takes me to that 5. So if I kind of put this together, I do have this sort of direction down to 5 that could move back up to C, but I don't hear that because he's used these modes to really obscure the motion down there. This is another thing about developmental sections, is that they tend to make sense on a kind of a macro scale when you look at them from far away. But when you're in them, it really feels like a bit of a harmonic roller coaster. You're not really quite sure where you're at. But if I take these all together and I think, okay, well, C minor, B flat minor, A flat major, I guess I could say that all of those sonorities, all of those harmonies are diatonic to A flat major. If that's A flat major, B flat minor is 2, and C minor is 3. So this is really kind of, but I don't hear A flat major until here, and I don't cadence there. I just hear A flat as kind of, again, doing what this is doing here. It's going G, A flat, lay above G to the Phi, the F sharp below there. So harmonically, I can look back and see how this is really setting up this little riff down here by going A flat, F sharp to G. So in a way, it does make a kind of sense on a macro level. There is a kind of a harmonic goal here, but it's just much less apparent than a transition where I'm really clearly moving between two keys. If I were to do a kind of a spot analysis of this, what I might actually say about this section is I might talk about this entire area as being kind of sort of related to the key of quote-unquote flat 6, this A flat key right there, which again, its purpose is really to sort of drive down to that dominant pedal, where I'm at. The other thing I want to point out is, once again, Beethoven, much like his predecessors, but maybe even more so, is relying on modal borrowing. He's relying on these sort of pivoting between parallel modes to make these transitions. Again, we were in C major starting here, moving to G major. I really have a kind of the modes really get sort of twisted in through here. I'm really in C. I'm really in the parallel minor, although B flat minor makes no sense. So I'm kind of sort of related via A flat major to the parallel minor of my tonic key, but it still sounds pretty unmoored until I get to this dominant pedal and I have a sense of what's going to happen. But all these flats and all these sort of kind of, I would be well within my rights to expect this entire thing to move to C minor. There's a C minor, but instead I get, and that once that A natural appears in bar 40, home in C major. So to sum up, again, we're distinguishing developmental function from transitional function, and both of them as being distinct from expository function. If expository function has a clarity of cadence and a clarity of phrase, particularly usually through periodic structure, we don't have that in transitional structure, and we certainly don't have that developmental structure. So what's the difference between developmental structure and transitional structure? Transition, you can really hear the transition typically between two keys. Developmental function is typically more about exploring multiple keys, and we really do in this piece have a sense of we could possibly be in several keys at once, and we're sort of moving, we're not just moving from G major to C major in a direct line. We've taken a couple of paths, C minor, a hint of B flat minor, there's that A flat major there, and then we finally arrive at our dominant pedal there. And also to touch upon, again, the larger way of thinking about these things, if I'm going to scroll up here, if we think about a rounded binary as having an A, a B, and an A prime section, we can again make a larger analogy to sonata form. This first A here, especially if it's a continuous binary, not a sectional binary, that first A exhibits a duality of key. I have C major moving to G major. My B section is developmental. You find a development section in a sonata as well. That explores a multiplicity of key. My A prime, even though the entire thing is not shown, is about unity of key. It moves from C major to C major and even has a little closing section in C major. So again, exposition in sonata form, duality of key, development in sonata form, multiplicity of key, recapitulation of sonata form, unity of key.